This was a jump scare 3 years ago. And this is a jump scare now. Oh! The point is, the Mimic has gone through a lot of changes over the years, and one of those massive changes is jump scares. Let's go back to 2022. The Mimic made a big change to remove jump scare boxes in Book 1. And what jump scares boxes are is you take a new box to do the jump scare, where now the monster just grabs you in the game, there are no cuts. Now jump scare boxes did have its cons, but it also had its pros. From what I noticed, less glitchy with jump scare boxes. With the removal of jump scare boxes, you can get a lot of glitches like characters going through walls, depending on where the monster kills you. And that can take away from a lot of the immersion in the jump scare, because what I noticed was that most of the jump scares were so dark anyways back in the day, you couldn't notice there was a box. I just really felt with all the controversy around jump scare boxes, they did feel much scarier than without them. But we aren't just talking about jump scare boxes in today's video, we are talking about the Mimic getting less scary in general. In Book 1, Chapter 1, my first experience, I didn't know what to do and what to expect from the monsters. And that really did make it a lot more scary. There was also build-up. They had music slowly get louder, and then stop, and then the jump scare. Where in today's Mimic, it's usually just quiet, and then a jump scare. But even forget the music, why does the Mimic feel less scary? There is another reason, the third reason. The monsters are over-designed. Part of why the Mimic was so scary back in the day was it felt surreal. The glitchy and weird looking monsters was another part of why it was so scary. With the new lanterns and light, we don't get the dark vibe as much. For the Mimic to fix this, they need to go back to its roots, which was the suspense. If they get back to suspense, they will get back to jump scare effect. What they need to do is make us scared for what's coming next. The build-up is very important for the jump scare. But I know the big question all you guys will be having for all of this is the main reason all of this is happening to begin with. Like, why did they go away from the jump scares? And the reason why the Mimic is no longer focusing on jump scares as much is because their focus has shifted, and that is to boss fights. Boss fights have been the new thing for the Mimic for the past couple of chapters, which some of them are actually really cool, like the Yuri boss fight, but I do think we need more classic Mimic jump scares. Now, a good idea for the Mimic too, if they want to stick with the boss fights, is make the boss fights more scary, because it really just feels like an action film right now, but I do think there is room for change. But if they don't know how to make the boss fights scary, I do think they need to go back to the roots of Book 1, Chapter 1. That was the perfect example, and I think they should experiment with a game mode like Book 1, Chapter 1. A good example of something like this that they did try and had some pros and cons was the Christmas Trial. A very controversial game mode because people expected more from it. People treated it like a full game mode, and I think if it was marketed differently, it could have been way better. But what Christmas Trials did well was the jump scare. There was only one jump scare, but it was very effective, and the suspense was back. You almost feel small and helpless because Krampus is like 4 times your height. And the jump scares were unexpected too. Yes, because of a lot of the glitches of Krampus killing you through the walls, but that did add into suspenseful and scary vibe. And I did also think about this too on why the Mimic jump scares may not be as scary to me anymore. It could be because I am just so used to them. And that could be the case, so what I did was I went back and tested them, and I do still think that Book 1, Chapter 1, or just Book 1 in general is way scarier than Book 2 so far. So to recap, to fix the scary problem, no, I don't think they should bring back the jump scare boxes if they can fix the glitches and bring back the Book 1, Chapter 1 effect somehow. The second thing is to bring back the suspense with the classic music and the build up to the jump scare. Basically tell us there is a jump scare without telling us when the jump scare is coming, instead of super quiet or too loud monster music. Because yes, the Mimic can be quiet sometimes, but it can also be too loud with some of the monster music. And that can also take away from the jump scare experience. And the last thing they can do is make the boss fights more scary. Now I know the boss fights are controversial, some people really love them, some people are not a big fan of them, some people are just in the middle. It's up for debate, but I think if they make it more scary, it will really help with the Mimic's popularity. Basically, the scarier the next chapter is, the more popular it will be. Because the Mimic's core fan base are horror game players. And the Mimic did have the name of being the scariest horror game on Roblox, or at least it did. It is still up for debate. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree, and also if you think the Mimic is still the scariest horror game on Roblox. Thank you and peace out.